If you've ever run a sports league, you're probably very familiar with this problem of juggling multiple apps. You'll have an app over here for tracking attendance. You've got your store over here to manage your memberships and take your payment fees. And then you've got your website for your stats and results, but then you got your third-party scoreboard for game day. So it can become a super big sucker of time, effort, and money to keep all these systems synchronized. But there's a really great fix you're gonna love. In this video, I'm going to show you 3 typical examples on how clubs lose when doing this multi-app juggle. We'll see how a unified system will save you real money and manpower on game day, and how it keeps your players, refs, and volunteers all in perfect sync so nothing slips through the cracks. So juggling apps in sports is sort of like being a music conductor, but all your musicians are in different booths. So you got to run over here and tell the horns to go. And then you've got to go over here and signal the violins to go, do their bit. And then the drummers are back there. They're going crazy as usual, and that's fine, I guess. But you just never get that symphony. But when you finally use a unified system, all these instruments get back in the same room, and then it all comes together. Let's start with this scoreboard example because this one perfectly illustrates the top 3 pain points. All right, I saw this hockey league and they have this really nice big jumbotron at their rink. So they were using a digital scoreboard to show the fans the score of the game and the clock. Well, you know how scoreboards work. But the thing is that they were using a third-party scoreboard app. So it's kind of a standalone system. So they've got their scorer there. They're keeping the stats and the results. Their system knows the schedule and the teams, but the guy next to the scorer, he's running the scoreboard. And that system doesn't talk to the other system. So this guy, he's got to set it up for the game, put in the home team, get those colors right, get that logo in, do the other team, and set up the clock. So for every game, he's doing this rejig of the scoreboard. And now, like, when the game's going, the scorer's entering the stats and keeping time for the stats. And he's keeping the time for the scoreboard. But imagine if they had 2 rinks. Well, that's 2 scoreboards. That's another extra guy. It doesn't scale very well. And that extra system, that scoreboard system, that costs money too. So they're paying for that too, on top of their other system. Then they found out that you can use a built-in scoreboard. Now that their scoreboard is unified with what the scorer is doing, the scoreboard just works. So every time this guy puts in a goal, the scoreboard updates, clock updates. You even get custom team goal horns. It's cool, right? And they don't need the extra guy, so they don't have to pay this extra guy. That saves them for having to organize 2 people and just totally streamline that whole job. So this example illustrates 3 main reasons why separate systems start causing trouble. So first, the data is siloed. So your main system, he knows the schedule of the scores, but he couldn't tell this guy. So these systems don't talk to each other very easily. You end up with a double entry. He's got to type in everything all over again. So multiple systems, they can also require that extra manpower. The manpower, you saw it in the scoreboard example, he's now having to be this extra guy running this extra clock. And then added costs to use an extra system. They've got to pay for this scoreboard that they use every year. This example is based around clubs that like to use attendance apps, and they absolutely should track attendance. This can really help remind players of games, help coaches make a game plan. There's heaps of benefits. But this can be challenging because your stats and results system might know the schedule, but then your attendance app, like say TeamSnap, doesn't. So you've got to load the schedule in there. So now you've got 2 schedules. And it's all too easy to change it one place and not the other. And that can really cause a disaster when people show up to a game that's been rescheduled and they were looking at the wrong schedule. So that's what I mean about 2 sources of truth. And updating one doesn't necessarily update the other, so it can get out of whack. So another problem with teams running their own TeamSnap or attendance thing is that the clubs, they lose visibility on attendance. So one team doesn't have a goalie, and that can kind of ruin the game. And If your club could have seen that, you could have helped them organize one. But now it's a poor game experience for all the players that night from your league. But when the club runs its own attendance with its own unified system, then not only do they have great visibility, they can fix any attendance problems that might show up. They can bring value to their team captains and make team management easier for that team. And that avoids all that double entry and potential for a missed game change. And speaking of game changes, here's a little bonus scenario on how a unified system can help. And it comes down to communications. So say you have bad weather, last minute rink issues. You need to reach the right people fast. And this is where disconnected systems can kind of fall short. So if your email list lives outside your main system, you either over communicate or miss people entirely. So maybe you blast the whole league about a cancellation that only affects 2 teams. Maybe the refs, they don't even get the memo, right? They don't get the message. When your communication actually lives in your main system, in your unified system, well, we know exactly who said that they were coming to the game. We know exactly who to tell about this issue. We know exactly what refs are coming to this game. So when your communication lives inside your league platform, every message is targeted, easy to send. So text both teams playing tonight, message all referees scheduled this weekend, email coaches for just one division, because the system already knows who's playing where. It knows who to reach. Plus, because messages come from the same trusted place as schedules and scores, people actually read them. And they know it's from their beloved hockey club, so they're going to read that. Example 3 is about managing memberships. And that's taking money for your annual membership payments or whatever payments that you take. Say you sell your memberships on like one store outside your system, but your scorer uses, your regular platform on game day to keep your stats and statistics. So when the people show up on game day, the scorer would like to know, is everybody paid up? But they have no quick way to marry the membership data with who's coming to the game. So there's no quick way to see who's paid and who hasn't. So you miss the opportunity to chase up that player or enforce payment rules because you can't enforce what you can't see. So the unified system fixes that. When registration payments and rosters connect, everything's visible in one dashboard. The scorer knows who's clear to play, the coaches see who's paid, and admins can automatically block unregistered players. And players love it too because they don't have to go to multiple sources to figure out what's going on, right? They just come to your website and they can see everything related to them, their schedules, their payments, their registrations. It's simple. Okay, and another problem. If you're still recording results and updating scores in Google Sheets, you need to watch this next video. It'll show you exactly why it's time to retire spreadsheets for good and what to use instead. Click right here to watch that video.